back to the Fluentoro podcast, everyone. I'm Anna.
And I'm David. It's good to have you with us.
Today, we're diving into a topic that every listener can relate to: food. Not just food as something we eat, but food as memory, comfort, culture, and identity.
Food is one of those topics that connects people instantly. You can ask anyone, anywhere, what's your favorite food, and suddenly you're having a real conversation.
Exactly. It's simple, but it opens a door to stories, emotions, and even new vocabulary. That's why it's a great topic to practice English. It's real, it's emotional, and everyone has something to say.
And in this episode, we're not just listing vocabulary, we're exploring the way people talk about food naturally in daily life, in conversations, in memories. We'll tell stories, explain expressions, and even share a few cultural notes along the way.
So sit back, get comfortable, maybe grab a snack, and let's talk about your favorite food in English.
Anna, let's start simple. What's your favorite food?
Oh, that's always a hard question. I have so many favorites, but if I had to choose, I'd say homemade pasta. Not from a restaurant, but made fresh at home. The texture, the smell, the process of making it, it's something warm and comforting.
That's a great choice. It's interesting you said homemade because it's not just about the taste, right? It's about the feeling that comes with it.
Exactly. Homemade adds emotion. When I say homemade pasta, I'm also thinking of Sunday afternoons, music playing in the background, my family in the kitchen. So even one word, homemade, changes the emotional meaning completely.
That's such a good point. In English, we often describe food not only with flavor words like sweet, spicy, or salty, but also with emotional words like comforting, nostalgic, or heartwarming.
Right. You can say, this soup is comforting, or that pie reminds me of my childhood. These phrases make your English sound natural and personal.
For me, my favorite food would be roasted corn. Just simple roasted corn with a little butter and salt. It reminds me of street markets when I was a kid, the smell, the sound of the corn roasting, the laughter of people around. It's all part of the memory.
That's beautiful. And I like how you connected smell and sound to the memory. In English, when we talk about food, sensory details make your description powerful.
Exactly. You can use words like crispy, tender, juicy, creamy, or spicy. And if you add an emotion, it makes me feel at home, or it brings me peace. You've turned a description into a story.
Speaking of stories, I remember when I moved abroad the first time. I was far from my family and really missed home cooking. One evening, I decided to make a simple vegetable soup the way my mother did. It didn't taste exactly the same, but the smell filled the apartment, and suddenly I felt calm.
That's such a vivid story. And I think everyone who's lived away from home has a moment like that. Food connects us to where we come from.
Yes, and when you share food with others, you're sharing a piece of your story. That's why in English we sometimes say food brings people together. It's not just a saying, it's a truth in every culture.
You know, that reminds me of something. When I first moved to London, I didn't know anyone. One night, I made lentils and rice, something simple from home. Two people walked into the shared kitchen, smelled it, and asked, "What's that? It smells amazing." We started talking, shared the meal, and became close friends. That meal started a friendship that's lasted for years.
That's such a lovely example of how food works as a social bridge. You didn't need perfect English. The smell did the talking first.
Exactly. Food spoke the universal language before I did.
It's interesting how often food and emotion show up together in English expressions, too. For example, home-cooked meal often means warmth and care. When someone says, there's nothing like a home-cooked meal, they're not only talking about taste, they're talking about love.
Yes, and there's another expression, comfort food. It's used for dishes that make you feel better emotionally, especially when you're tired or sad, like mac and cheese, chicken soup, or warm bread.
Comfort food is such a useful phrase, and there's no single comfort food for everyone. It depends on your culture, your memories.
Exactly. In the US, it might be mashed potatoes or pancakes. In Japan, maybe ramen. In Mexico, perhaps tamales. Every culture has its own comfort food.
Let's talk about how people describe taste in English. A lot of learners know the basic ones: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, spicy, but there are so many more natural adjectives.
Absolutely. You can describe textures, too, like crunchy, chewy, fluffy, smooth, or more advanced taste words like tangy, savory, buttery, smoky.
And if you want to sound natural, combine them. For example, a crispy golden crust with a soft buttery center. That sounds alive.
Yes, the trick is combining physical description with emotional reaction. For example, this cake is light and fluffy. It just melts in your mouth.
I like that. Melts in your mouth. It's one of those expressions that native speakers use all the time.
Right, or packed with flavor, meaning it's rich or intense in taste. Or hits the spot, meaning it satisfies exactly what you were craving.
These expressions make your speech sound natural in everyday English conversations about food.
Let's slow down a bit and explore something deeper. How food can reflect who we are. When you ask someone about their favorite food, you often learn about their culture, family, and even their values.
Absolutely. For example, someone who says their favorite food is sushi might value freshness and simplicity. Someone who loves spicy curry might enjoy intensity and adventure.
Yes, food is personality in disguise. And that's why it's such a good conversation topic in English. It's not small talk, it's identity talk.
And you can use it naturally when meeting people. For instance, if you're at work or traveling, you can ask, "What kind of food do you like?" Or "Do you cook?" These are friendly, open questions that lead to genuine conversation.
Exactly. And if someone asks you, what's your favorite food, don't just give a one-word answer. Instead of saying pizza, you can say, I love pizza because it reminds me of Friday nights with my friends. Now you've turned it into a story.
That's such an important skill. Storytelling through simple topics. It makes your English engaging and memorable.
And it's actually easier than it sounds. You can follow a short pattern. Say the food, describe the situation, add how it makes you feel. That's it.
Right. My favorite food is sushi. I tried it for the first time when I traveled to Japan. I love how fresh and delicate it tastes. It makes me feel calm and balanced. That's a complete natural paragraph in conversation.
Beautiful example. It's personal, emotional, and easy to follow.
And that's the kind of English that builds connection.
You know, there's also a cultural aspect to how people share food. In Italian culture, cooking is an act of love. In Korean culture, sharing many small dishes, called banchan, is a symbol of generosity.
Yes, and in many Latin American cultures, big meals means celebration. It's about togetherness.
In English-speaking countries, food often shows up in celebrations too. Think of Thanksgiving in the US or Sunday roasts in the UK. It's not just about eating, it's about gratitude and family.
That's true. The language around those meals often reflect care and community. People say things like, "Let's sit down together," or "There's always room for one more."
And if you're learning English, understanding these moments helps you connect beyond grammar. It helps you feel the rhythm of life in the culture.
That's exactly why we talk about food today. It's a simple topic that leads to the heart of human experience.
Speaking of heart, do you remember your first meal that truly moved you emotionally?
I do. It was a bowl of ramen in Tokyo during winter. I was tired, cold, and homesick. I sat down in a tiny shop, steam rising from the bowl, and the first spoonful felt like a hug. I didn't speak much Japanese, but the cook smiled, and in that moment, I realized food was a language too.
That's such a powerful story. It reminds me that food doesn't just feed your body, it can comfort your spirit.
And it's something that transcends language. You don't need words to understand kindness when someone cooks for you.
Yes. As we often say, kindness tastes the same in every culture.
I love that line, and it's true. It's one of the most human experiences there is.
We've been talking a lot about emotional connection, but food also teaches cultural values. For instance, in some cultures, finishing everything on your plate shows respect. In others, leaving a little means you're satisfied.
That's a great point. In English-speaking countries, saying, "Thank you, that was delicious," is a polite way to show appreciation. You might also say, "That really hit the spot," or "You've outdone yourself."
Yes, and at restaurants, small phrases like, could I have, or I'll go with, sound natural when ordering. Instead of saying, I want, say, I'd like, or could I please have?
Those are small but important shifts. They make you sound polite and fluent.
Right. Those small expressions really shape how polite and natural you sound in English. You can be friendly, but still respectful.
Exactly. And in English, politeness often comes from the tone more than the grammar itself. For example, I'll have the soup. Sounds fine, but I'd like the soup, please, adds warmth and respect.
And you can even make it sound more conversational. You know what? I'll go with the soup today. That's something you'd say when ordering casually with friends.
That's a good point. I'll go with is such a natural phrase. It means you've made your choice, but it sounds relaxed.
And notice how food brings people together in conversation, too. Most people find it easy to open up when talking about what they eat. If you ever feel nervous about starting a chat in English, ask about food.
That's a great strategy. If you meet someone new, you can ask, have you tried any local dishes here? Or do you like spicy food? Those are safe, friendly questions.
And you'll probably end up talking about travel, family, culture, all from that one small topic.
It's amazing how much language grows from a single idea like food. Vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, culture, they all meet here.
You're right. And even idioms in English are full of food.
Oh, yes. Piece of cake, meaning something easy. Spill the beans, meaning reveal a secret.
Or the icing on the cake, meaning something extra good that makes a situation even better.
And take it with a grain of salt, meaning don't believe something completely.
English loves using food to talk about life.
That's because food is part of everyday experience. When we use food metaphors, we're grounding language in something everyone understands.
That's also what makes those idioms memorable. Once you picture the image, like a cake with icing, you never forget the meaning.
You know, when I teach English through topics like this, I always remind students that learning is not only about vocabulary lists. It's about emotional connection. When you care about what you're saying, you remember it longer.
That's true. The brain remembers stories, not lists. If you connect new words to your own food memories, you'll never forget them.
Let's test that idea. What's one food memory that always makes you smile?
It's probably breakfast with my grandfather. He used to make pancakes from scratch every Sunday morning. He'd flip them while humming old songs. The smell of butter and syrup filled the house. Even now, if I make pancakes, it feels like he's there.
That's such a warm image. It's a perfect example of storytelling in English. Sensory details, emotion, memory. You didn't use fancy grammar, but the feeling is vivid.
That's the magic of storytelling. And when you learn English, telling small stories like that gives you rhythm and confidence.
Exactly. It's not about sounding perfect, it's about sounding alive.
There's also something cultural about breakfast itself. In some places, breakfast is quick, just coffee and toast. In others, it's a full meal with rice, soup, and vegetables.
Right. The meaning of breakfast changes depending on where you are. In English-speaking countries, it often means something light but comforting. Pancakes, cereal, eggs. But in other cultures, it's a time to connect before the day begins.
And talking about that in English can teach you how to explain your own culture. You might say, in my country, breakfast is very important. We eat together as a family before work or school.
That's such a good point. Food vocabulary becomes cultural vocabulary.
Speaking of culture, let's touch on how hospitality works in different places. In some cultures, offering food is a deep gesture of care.
Yes, in English-speaking cultures, inviting someone to dinner means you value their company. It's not just about feeding them, it's about friendship.
Exactly. And it's often casual. People might say, hey, come over for dinner sometime. Even if they haven't planned a date yet, it's a friendly invitation.
That's true. It's not always literal. Sometimes it's just a way to say, I like spending time with you.
But if someone actually follows up and invites you, it's polite to bring something, maybe a dessert, flowers, or a bottle of juice.
Yes, and a simple, thanks for having me, goes a long way. Politeness and gratitude are universal.
Another nice phrase is, thanks for the meal, it was delicious. Or even, you cooked up a storm, which means you cooked a lot of great food.
I love that one. You cooked up a storm. It's playful, very natural.
And when you're hosting, you can say, help yourself, which means take what you like, or make yourself at home, to make your guest comfortable.
Those small expressions create warmth. They're the language of hospitality.
Speaking of warmth, let's talk about comfort food again. Not just what it is, but why it matters.
I think comfort food reminds us that even when life changes, certain tastes stay the same. They ground us.
Yes, and that's why people crave their childhood dishes when they're far from home. It's emotional stability in a bowl.
That's a lovely phrase. Emotional stability in a bowl.
You know, I once met someone who said that every culture has a version of soup that heals.
Oh, I love that idea. Chicken soup, miso soup, lentil soup, pho, all simple, nourishing, full of care.
It's true. Soup has that universal language of warmth and recovery.
And in English, you might hear someone say, I need some soul food. That doesn't always mean the southern U.S. cuisine. It can just mean food that feeds your soul.
Exactly. Food that makes you feel whole.
This connection between food and emotion is what makes the topic so rich for English learners. It allows you to practice vocabulary, but also express yourself deeply.
That's the key. Food gives you a safe, familiar way to talk about bigger things: family, belonging, memory.
So let's give listeners a quick formula again, something easy they can try.
Sure. Start with the food, add where or when you ate it, describe how it tasted, then explain how it made you feel.
For example, I love mangoes. I used to eat them on hot afternoons in my grandmother's garden. They were juicy and sweet, and every bite reminds me of sunshine.
That's perfect. Simple, vivid, emotional.
And notice how you can use past tenses naturally when telling food stories. Used to, reminded me, made me feel. That's real English.
Right. You're practicing grammar in context without even realizing it.
You know what I find fascinating? How people describe the same taste differently around the world.
Yes. For example, in English, we say something is sweet, but in some cultures, sweetness can also mean comfort or kindness.
That's true. The word sweet in English also describes personality. Like, she's such a sweet person.
Great observation. Food words often become character words. We say cool as a cucumber, or salty for someone who's a bit bitter or annoyed.
Or cheesy to describe something overly emotional or corny.
And spicy can even describe someone's personality. Lively, bold, full of energy.
Exactly. Language tastes just like food. It has flavor, and you can feel it.
That's why I love episodes like this. We're not just teaching English, we're exploring human connection.
Yes. And I hope listeners realize that when they talk about food in English, they're sharing part of themselves.
So maybe tonight, when you have dinner, think about how you describe it in English. What's the flavor? What's the feeling? Who are you sharing it with?
That's your homework for the heart. Now, let's move into something a bit more practical. How food conversations actually happen in real life.
Right, because whether you're traveling, meeting new people, or just chatting with coworkers, food comes up all the time.
Absolutely. Think about it. We eat 3 times a day, sometimes more. Food is part of daily rhythm, and it becomes a natural topic of conversation.
Exactly. So let's imagine some common situations. Let's start with a restaurant scene. You're sitting down, and the waiter comes over. What do you say?
The most natural way to begin is, "Hi, could I see the menu, please?" Or, "Can we have 2 menus, please?" Simple, polite, and confident.
And when you're ready to order, you can say, "I'd like the chicken curry, please." Or, "Can I have the grilled salmon?" Notice how "I'd like" and "can I have" are both polite and friendly?
Exactly. And if you're not sure what to order, you can ask the waiter, "What do you recommend?" Or, "What's popular here?" That makes you sound interested and open-minded.
And if something isn't clear on the menu, you can ask, "What's in this dish?" Or, "Does this come with rice or bread?" Asking questions like that shows you're engaged, not rude.
And if you want to make a special request, for example, no onions or less salt, you can say, "Could I have it without onions, please?" Or, "Could you make it a little less spicy?"
I love that English allows you to sound polite without being too formal. Just a simple "please" softens everything.
Exactly. Tone is everything. Even with perfect grammar, if you sound too direct, it can feel impolite.
Right. Let's do a little role play for our listeners. I'll be the waiter, and you be the customer.
Okay, here we go.
Good evening. Are you ready to order?
Yes, I'd like the vegetable stir fry, please.
Would you like it with rice or noodles?
Noodles, please. And could you make it less spicy?
Of course. Anything to drink?
Just water, thank you.
Perfect. Your order will be ready soon.
That's it. That's a perfectly natural, polite restaurant conversation.
And notice how short each sentence is. Real English isn't long or complicated. It's simple, polite, and clear.
Exactly. And when you finish your meal, you can say, "Could we have the bill, please?" Or, "Can we pay, please?"
Or if the service was good, "Everything was delicious. Thank you so much."
That always makes a waiter's day.
Now, let's switch settings. Imagine you're at a party or a small get-together and people start chatting about food. That's another common situation.
Yes, and it's a great chance to use English naturally. Someone might ask, "Do you like cooking?" Or, "What kind of food do you usually eat?"
Or, "Have you tried any local dishes here?" That's a really good small talk question, especially if you're traveling or studying abroad.
Exactly. You can reply with something like, "Yes, I tried fish and chips last week. It was so crispy and delicious."
Or, "I really like sushi. It's so fresh and light."
The key is to add a little adjective, something that describes taste or texture, like fresh, crispy, spicy, creamy, rich.
Right. Instead of saying, "I liked it," say, "I liked it because it was creamy and comforting." That one detail makes your English sound alive.
And you can even connect it to a memory. I loved the curry because it reminded me of my trip to India.
That's beautiful English. Emotional, vivid, personal.
And let's pause for a moment and talk about the cultural side. In some cultures, people talk about food all the time. It's part of showing interest in others. But in others, it might be less common.
Exactly. In the US or the UK, talking about food is often casual, friendly, and safe. It's not too personal, but it opens the door to conversation.
In Japan, though, for example, people often comment on how beautifully food is presented. Not just the taste, but the appearance. That's part of cultural appreciation.
And in Italy or Spain, food is almost a philosophy. Meals are long, conversations flow, and food becomes a way to connect deeply.
So when you talk about your favorite food in English, you're also sharing a little bit of your culture.
That's what makes it so rich.
Yes, and when you listen to others talk about their food, you're learning about their world.
Exactly. That's what language learning really is, understanding people's worlds.
You know, it's interesting. In English, food vocabulary often overlaps with emotion. We already mentioned sweet and bitter, but also taste of success, spice up your life, full of flavor.
Yes, full of flavor can mean exciting or interesting, and that was a bitter experience means it was painful or unpleasant.
So, when learners expand their food vocabulary, they're also expanding their emotional vocabulary.
That's a powerful point. Language mirrors our senses.
And food is the perfect topic for that because it involves all five senses: taste, smell, sight, touch, and sound.
Right, you can describe how food looks. It looks beautiful. How it smells amazing. How it feels, it's soft and warm. How it sounds, it's sizzling. And of course, how it tastes, it's sweet and rich.
Those are sensory verbs: look, smell, feel, sound, taste. They're simple, but so expressive.
You can even mix them. The bread looks golden and smells so fresh. Or the noodles taste spicy and smell wonderful.
You can imagine it just by listening. That's the goal, to paint a picture with words.
And that's also what makes storytelling powerful in English. Even a small food story can transport the listener.
Exactly. Let's each tell a short story, just to model it. You go first.
Okay, here we go. When I was little, my mom used to make fried rice on weekends. The sound of the rice sizzling in the pan was my favorite part. I'd stand next to her, waiting for that moment when she'd hand me the first spoonful. It was warm, salty, and full of flavor. Even now, when I smell soy sauce and garlic, I feel like I'm home again.
That's lovely. And that's how you make English alive. You didn't use complicated grammar, but you used emotion and detail.
Exactly. Now your turn.
When I first moved abroad, I missed the food from home. But one night, I found this small cafe run by a couple from my country. They made a dish I hadn't tasted in years: stew with potatoes, herbs, and lemon. The moment I took the first bite, I felt like time stopped. It was like home came to me.
That's beautiful. And that's what food does. It travels across time and space through memory.
And that's also what English allows you to do. When you can share those feelings, you connect beyond language.
That's the magic of it. You're not just learning words, you're sharing yourself.
So, let's challenge our listeners again. Think about your favorite food. Picture it, smell it, remember the moment you last ate it. Now, try describing it in English, out loud. Don't worry about mistakes. Just feel the story.
Yes, say something like, I love blank because blank. Add a memory, an emotion, or a reason. That's all you need to start sounding natural.
Perfect.
Now, let's go a little deeper. How food connects to culture and identity. Because food isn't just what we eat, it's who we are.
That's right. I think everyone has that one dish that tells their story, even if they don't realize it. Sometimes the way we talk about food reflects where we come from and what we value.
Exactly. For instance, in many cultures, sharing food is a form of love. You don't say, I love you. You say, have you eaten?
Yes, that's common in many Asian cultures. Food is how people express care. And in some families, a grandmother or parent might show love through cooking, by remembering your favorite meal or making something special when you visit.
And in English, there's this expression, comfort food. It means food that makes you feel safe, warm, or nostalgic. It's not necessarily healthy, it's emotional.
Right. Comfort food is usually something simple and homemade, like mac and cheese, soup, or mashed potatoes in the U.S. It's food that brings comfort during stress or sadness.
And in the UK, people often say, a nice cup of tea can fix almost anything. It's more than just tea. It's the ritual of slowing down, talking, and sharing time.
That's what I love about this topic. Food teaches you not only new words,
but also new ways of seeing life.
You're absolutely right. For instance, in Mediterranean cultures, meals are social. People sit for hours, talking, eating slowly, laughing. Food becomes part of community and connection.
But in some Western cities, people eat alone, on the go, or at their desks. It's fast and convenient, but maybe a little less emotional.
Exactly. And when English learners talk about food, they sometimes just focus on the taste. But when you add feelings, memories, and cultural habits, your English becomes richer and more human.
Yes, that's how you make a conversation come alive. Instead of, I like pizza, say, I love pizza because it reminds me of Friday nights with my family.
Or, I always order pizza when I'm happy. It's like a small celebration.
That's it. Let's do something fun for our listeners. I'll give a few examples of food expressions in English, and you explain what they mean. Ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, first one. She's the salt of the earth.
That means she's a really good, honest person. Kind, humble, someone you can trust. Salt adds flavor, so calling someone the salt of the earth means they make life better.
Nice. How about, he's in a pickle?
That one's funny. It means he's in trouble or in a difficult situation. Like, he lost his keys and can't get home. He's in a pickle.
Exactly. How about, spill the beans?
That means tell the secret. Like, come on, spill the beans. What happened?
Good one. And piece of cake.
That means something is very easy. For example, the exam was a piece of cake.
Perfect. You see, even in idioms, English uses food to describe emotions, situations, and people.
Because food is universal. Everyone understands it, so that's why it works so well in language.
Here's a cultural note. In British English, people often use tea to mean more than just the drink. Tea can also mean the evening meal. Someone might say, "What's for tea?" And they're talking about dinner.
That's right. And in American English, dinner usually means the main meal of the day, but in some places, supper is used instead.
These small differences tell us a lot about culture and lifestyle.
Speaking of lifestyle, let's talk about how food habits change when people move to another country.
That's such a great topic. When I moved abroad, I realized how much I missed the flavors from home. You start craving things that remind you of who you are.
Exactly. And at the same time, you start discovering new foods that become part of your new identity.
Yes, like learning to love local dishes. At first, you might find something strange, but after a few tries, you can't imagine living without it.
That's true. I had the same experience when I lived in South Korea. I wasn't used to spicy food, but after a few months, I started loving kimchi and spicy stews.
That's a perfect example of how our taste buds adapt and how we grow through culture.
And learning to describe those experiences in English helps learners connect with people around them.
Absolutely. Because when you talk about food in English, you're not just practicing vocabulary, you're sharing a piece of yourself.
So here's an activity for our listeners. Think of a food you didn't like at first, but learned to love. Maybe something from your travels or from a friend's culture. How would you describe that story in English?
Yes, say something like, at first I didn't like, but after trying it a few times, I started to enjoy it because,
That kind of reflection helps you connect language with emotion.
Yes. And now, let's look at another cultural layer, food and celebration. Every culture has foods for special occasions, holidays, birthdays, festivals.
True. For example, in the US, Thanksgiving is all about turkey, mashed potatoes, and pumpkin pie. But the meaning behind it is gratitude and family.
In Mexico, you have tamales for Christmas or Dia de los Muertos, food that connects generations.
And in India,
Sweets are essential for festivals like Diwali. Sharing sweets means sharing joy and blessings.
In the Middle East, food during Ramadan carries deep meaning. Breaking the fast with dates, sharing meals at night, it's all about community.
And in Japan, New Year's dishes are symbolic. Each item represents something: health, happiness, longevity.
It's beautiful how food becomes language, culture, and history all at once.
Yes, and when learners can describe those foods in English, they're not just speaking, they're storytelling.
And so, listeners, think about your own special food traditions. What do you eat when you celebrate? What dishes remind you of family or home?
And how could you share that in English? Maybe start like this. In my country, we eat for because.
That's a wonderful way to practice both grammar and culture at the same time.
You know what I've noticed, David? When my students describe their cultural foods, their confidence grows. They suddenly speak with pride.
I've seen that too, because they're not memorizing sentences, they're expressing identity.
That's why I always say language learning starts with the heart.
Beautifully said, and food connects straight to the heart.
So, as we continue, let's talk about one last thing: how food brings people together.
Yes, whether you're at a table, in a cafe, or just talking online, food is one of the easiest ways to find common ground.
Exactly. You can be from completely different cultures, but when someone says, "This is delicious," you both smile.
That's the universal language of food.
And that's also why talking about your favorite food in English can lead to meaningful friendships.
You start with, "What's your favorite dish?" And suddenly you're swapping stories, recipes, and memories.
It's a small question that opens a big door.
So here's our last reflection. Food teaches us that language isn't just grammar or vocabulary, it's connection.
Yes, and when you talk about your favorite food, you're also sharing your favorite moments in life.
So wherever you are, take a moment tonight. Think about the food that makes you smile. Describe it in English. Say it out loud.
Feel the emotion, remember the story, and share it with someone. That's real communication.
That's what the Fluento journey is all about. Learning to connect through words that taste like life.
Beautifully said. And with that, we'll wrap up today's episode.
Thank you all for listening, for learning, and for feeling every flavor of English with us.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep tasting the language, and keep sharing your stories.
See you soon on Fluento.